Madam Clerk, it's 6 o'clock.
This meeting is called to order. Councilman Anderson,
Present.
Councilwoman Perone.
Present.
Got you. Councilwoman Worthy,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Whitfield,
Present.
and Mayor McIntosh.
Present.
Let us stand for the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, just before I turn it over to you, I inadvertently left off public comments for the public, but there is a 4-minute public comment after everyone have finished with their budget presentation.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone. Today we'll be having our budget discussions with our department heads. We will have a series of 3 special meetings. Today we'll be starting off with the library, human resources, Office of Communications, Department of Recreations and Parks, and Department of Community Affairs, Veteran Services, and Senior Services. We also will continue this conversation on our November 8th at 7 p.m. and also at November 9th at 6 p.m. So I will turn it over to Mr. Harris to begin our budget discussions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. According to the New Jersey statutes, Title 40, number 69A-96, it requires that the municipal budget be prepared by the municipal manager. And during the month of November in each year, the municipal manager shall require all department heads to submit requests for appropriations for the ensuing budget year and to appear before him at public hearings, which shall be held during that month on the various requests. And this meeting is in compliance with that particular statute. So we are going to begin with the departments making their requests for appropriations in 2024. I want to be clear that this is not the 2024 budget. These are just department head requests asking for appropriations for 2024 in preparation of the 2024 budget, which will be formally presented to the governing body at its appropriate time. So without any further ado, I will call up first Ms. Sandra Cronch, who is the director at the Willingboro Library.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Council, Mr. Harris, Madam Clerk. I am Sandy Krantz, and I am the director at the Willingboro Public Library. And this is my presentation for the 2024 budget. The Willingboro Library exists for the benefit of the citizens of Willingboro and the community at large. The first duty of the library is service to the public. It is our mission to serve as a diverse, interactive, digital, and physical hub that is built by and for the Willingboro community. The role of the library is to provide access to information for everyone with no barriers or judgments. The library has 14 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees. This budget represents the library's contribution, state aid, grants, and the township appropriation request. The next page is our organizational chart. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that. No? Okay. And then we get to our expenses. I'm not sure if you want me to go down through them or if you want me to go to the
Line by line.
summary. You want to go line by line?
Through all.
Okay, salaries and wages. The 2023 budget was 700,455. The 2023 actual is 678,350. And our 2024 request is 729,905. Benefits and escrow, 2023 budget, 277,000. 2023 actual, 251,739. And the 2024 budget request, 268,250. Our book budget in 2023 was 35,000. Actual is 22,676, and we are asking for 2024, $35,000. Downloadable content, that is ebooks, audiobooks, and also Kindle books. $8,000 was the 2023 budget. Actual is 7,646, and the budget request for 2024 is 8,000. Periodicals and subscriptions, that is for professional journals as well as magazines for the public, $8,000 budget for this year. Actual 6,395, and the budget request is 8,000. Audio visual is for DVDs and also books on CD. $6,500 was for the 2023 budget. Actual 3,643, and our 2024 budget request is 6,500. Software and licenses, that's $11,000 was the budget this year. The actual is 7,842, and the 2024 budget is $12,000. Our office supplies, this year we budgeted 7,500. Actual so far is 4,153, and the 2024 budget request is 8,500. Equipment lease and purchase, $30,000 for this year's budget. Actual is 26,858, and our budget request is 18,500. And then we have postage, and that is incoming as well as outgoing postage. We pay for the postage of books being delivered. $3,000 budget, and the 2023 actual is 2,155, and the budget request is 3,300. Telephone and telecom, 2023 budget was 17,500. The 2023 actual to date is 16,327, and the 2024 budget is 18,000. Trustee expenses, 2023 budget was 2,500. 2023 actual, 1,883, and that is an actual up to now. And the 2024 budget is 1,000. Administrative expenses, $18,500 was budgeted for this year. So far, we have spent 14,703, and we are budgeting for next year 16,000. Audit and bookkeeping, 13,250. The actual was 12,604, and that is actual to date. And 2024 budget is 13,750. Our programs and publicity, this year we budgeted 4,500. The actual so far 2,363, and we're budgeting 6,000 for next year. Utilities, the 2023 budget, 75,000. 2023 actual, 60,451, and the 2024 budget, 65,000. Our building maintenance, equipment, and supplies. 2023 budget was 13,500. Our 2023 actual is 8,335, and our 2024 budget, 13,500. And finally, HVAC maintenance and service. The budget this year was 20,000. Actual to date is 3,317, and in 2024, the request will be $20,000 as well. So our total for the budget for 2023, $1,251,205, and the actual, and that's actual and or encumbered, $1,131,440,000, and our 2024 budget is $1,251,205.
Thank you, Ms. Krantz. Somebody have a question? No. So I do have a question. So notably in 2023, your actual expenditures were down almost $120,000 over your budget for 2023, according to your notes, the middle line. But yet in 2024, you put your budget back up to the original 2023 budget. If your actual expenses came down in 2023, why do you think in 2024 you're going to have increases back to the original 2023 budgeted amounts?
Because we still have 2 more months to go with bills. So this if you look at, I put an asterisk next to what is encumbered through the end of the year. Anything that didn't have an asterisk next to it, we're still expecting bills to come in for those,
Okay.
for all those line items.
So also you have 20,000 in your HVAC maintenance and services, where again, in 2023 that you spent 3,300.
Yes,
You are aware that your HVAC is going to be replaced in 2024 in the ESIP program.
yes.
So why do you feel that you would need an additional $20,000 when you're going to get a new HVAC system, which would be under warranty for at least a year?
I just put that in there to give us some breathing room in case the ESIP doesn't happen until 2025. I don't know when the HVAC is going to be put in. So if it's not put in until, say, this time next year, I'll have to switch the system over to air in the spring, and then I'll have to switch it back over to heat and any repairs that have to be done. We're doing time and materials now. We don't have a P&M budget anymore. We
Right,
don't have a maintenance agreement.
but I don't know that the HVAC unit is scheduled to be installed in the spring. And do you really think that we're going to need $20,000 in repairs between
No.
now and then?
No, if it was installed in the spring, then no.
Okay, so realistically, we can decrease that line item
Yes,
at least by $15,000.
yes.
You writing this down, Ms. Eusebia?
Yeah.
Okay. And salary and wages.
Yes,
So in 2023, your budget for salary and wages was 700,000. Your actual salary and wages for 2023, according to the asterisk, that's what's actual or encumbered through December 31st,
Mhm.
is $22,000 less.
yes.
But yet you're requesting 51,555 more than your actual in 2023.
Yes, because we had hired 3 new librarians and we hired them halfway through 2023. And we did not budget for them for any more than 6 months. So now we're going to be carrying them for a 12-month period. And I'm hoping to also hire a part-time librarian and a part-time library assistant.
And then that would also account for the increased benefits in escrow,
Yes,
even though that you're now,
actually, the benefits in escrow went down. The request is going down.
that's correct.
That's-
So,
Thank you to you for
okay,
that.
you're welcome. Okay, so those were the glaring questions that I had. I'll open up to council members if they have any questions.
I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Krantz. Sorry, did I beat you to it?
was asking the mayor before.
With the audiovisual, you had mentioned that that was for DVDs and books on CD
And music on CD, yes.
and music on CD.
Mhm.
Okay. And I imagine that part of the decrease, you only used about half of that budget this year. I imagine that that's because people aren't using those devices as much anymore.
The books on CD way down. DVDs not down as far as you would think, but they are down. And because people are streaming a lot of books now. And music CDs, people still come and they borrow the CDs and they burn them. You know, they download them onto their devices. But yeah, it did go down. We did do some budget transfers since the beginning of the year. So we did make some adjustments where we had less spending than expected.
Okay, but is there a reason why you're maintaining that from the same request, even though you didn't use about half of that?
I did leave it the same?
Yeah.
I don't have an immediate answer for that.
Okay. Y'all can go ahead. Yes.
Ms. Krantz, I had a question about the programs and publicity.
Yes.
I did see that so far in 2023, it's at 2363 and the request is for 6,000.
Yes.
So I was wondering what's changing for 2024 where you anticipate additional funds?
So in 2023, we were down to 2 librarians. So we didn't do a lot of programming. And this number reflects that. The budget for 2023 reflects that. We now have 3 new librarians and they are gathering a following, and we're going to have a full slate of programming in 2024.
Okay.
I mean, and that, you know, from January to December, you know, fingers crossed, we're going to have, you know, a full-blown summer reading. We'll have, you know, story time every week. more adult programs. It's with more staff, we have more programming.
Thank you. And with that, is it additional supplies? Like what, how is that?
Supplies, snacks, I mean, we only budget about $35 per program. Some programs don't use that at all. But yeah, it's for supplies
Okay.
and for snacks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you, Ms. Krantz. Pretty much my questions were answered, but in terms of the library, how many people do you see through those doors, like yearly or annually?
Oh, I wish I had my report with me. I don't have it with me right now.
Okay, can we? You can send that.
I can email that to you tomorrow. That
Okay.
report is on my desk right now.
I
I
just
can
wanna know
tell
the
you that the
population.
numbers are projecting up every month,
Oh,
which is a wonderful thing. It's been very slow coming back from COVID. And that's typical for other libraries that I speak with.
mhm,
But they're finally starting to come up.
okay. Thank you so much. There's no one, oh, you, Councilman Anderson?
All right, so the library is approximately 40,000 square feet, correct?
42,000, yes.
42,000, and is all of that space being maximized?
I believe so, yes.
You believe so?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, the whole,
Yeah, I'm just saying, is it being
yes,
maximized or?
we use the entire library.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I apologize. Did you have any questions?
No, my questions actually were answered by Mr. Harris. The questions that he asked was going to be my question. So I appreciate the presentation and the questions that were asked already. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, do you want to open up questions department by department or? Okay.
That's a good. Go ahead.
In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was provided in the following manner. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal complex and was mailed to the Burlington County Times, the Intelligencer, and the Courier Times. Advance written notice of this meeting was filed with the township clerk. The clerk is directed to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement. Thank you.
Thank
Mayor.
you. I'm going to allow public comment in between departments. If you have any comments about the library, anybody for public comment, host, please look on Zoom and make sure or see if anyone would like to have public comment, have anything to say for the department, the library. All right, no public comment.
Not at this
Again.
time, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Harris.
So thank you again, Ms. Cronch. And at this time, we will go on to our Human Resources Department, led by Ms. Loretta Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Governing Body, Mr. Harris, and Madam Clerk. I just wanted to read, the brief synopsis of the narrative that the Human Resources Department utilize in who we are. Willingboro Township Human Resources Department is dedicated to applying the best practices to recruit, train, and maintain the current and future employees. The Human Resources Department partners with the New Jersey Civil Service Commission to provide ongoing training and skill development for professional growth and personal well-being. We utilize webinars, workshops, courses, video presentation, and civil service employee advisory services in our comprehensive approach to provide the township with stable, well-trained, customer-friendly staff that is dedicated to accomplishing the goals and the mission of the township. Next slide, please. My line items are very basic. The first one is the award and dues, which is a reduction from last year, from 500 to 300 for membership dues participating in organizations of literatures and brochures. The second one, of course, is the travel expense, which remain the same. And our training of the staff has been reduced from 2,600 to 1,600. And medical exams for fitness for duty exams, return to work, physicals and psychological exams, remain the same from last year. Contractually, that's for all of our physicals that we do in terms of police officers, firefighters, laborers, and individuals who are required to have physicals remain the same. And the miscellaneous account for me is the same. Nothing else has changed. So therefore, it is a reduction of 1,200 for the 2024 budget request. And next slide, please, is just the department organizational chart. And that concludes my budget request for 2024. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Ms. Anderson?
I have one question. Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Council. Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you for your presentation, Ms. Loretta. My question's regarding the physical fit for fitness. Is there a reason why this exam is not taking place by the person's primary doctor?
Because it is because we have to have it done by, are we talking the line item for medical exams?
Yes, the 17,000.
Right, we have police officers and firefighters, laborers that have to go and get psychological exams. It cannot be done through their personal doctor. It's state mandated that they have to have a physical for duty evaluation. If someone is not actually complying in terms of a fitness for duty, is if someone has a drug problem or a psychological problem, we have to send them somewhere specifically pertaining to that.
Okay, so the budgeted item, because it's not up on the screen right now, but I recognize that it was the same figure. Did you utilize this budget last year? Or
We didn't utilize it as much. We actually tapped into the contractual, which was the account of 132. And I think we utilized more of the contractual budget line item, which is the township physicals, but we still didn't tap into it specifically to utilize it all.
Okay, so because that was going to be my next question, that the contractual and the medical exams, is that the same type of procedure that's taking place as far as?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. The psychological exams are strictly for police officers and firefighters. Fitness for duty is employees, regular employees through the township who has to be cleared to come back to work for whatever reason.
Okay, and I guess we as a township, we have our own doctors and who we hire to do this. Is that why they're not going to their own primary care doctors?
Well, when you're talking about psychological exams from for the police department and the fire department, they can't go to their primary physician for that. That is a state mandated way that they have to get psychologically examined for coming back to work or being hired to come to the township, period.
Okay.
They have to have an exam, not through their own personal doctor. That's not how it works.
Okay. And last question, so this is as an as-needed basis, or this is all of the employees that fit under this category for the evaluations?
The
Is it
medical,
an as-needed basis?
medical exams, which
Fitness for duty.
fitness for
duty. Mhm.
yes, that is for employees included.
Everyone gets examined, or is it according to case by case?
To whatever circumstances occur with an employee
Okay,
in the position that they're holding and something happens they're not working up to par. We have
Okay.
to send them for a fitness for duty exam.
okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I think just to clarify, what Councilwoman Jerome was asking, it is on an as-needed basis.
Yes,
However, depending on the circumstance, those fitness for duty exams can be very expensive.
Okay,
The psychologicals are upwards of $2,500 a piece.
correct.
So they can be very costly, and we are not able to allow them to go to their own personal doctors. They have to be performed by a contracted physician for the municipality.
okay.
But if Ms. Anderson, while you're there, if you could just please explain for the edification of the people, what is the difference between the LMS Learning Management System online training, which we are committing $9,000 to, and the regular human resource staff training?
The difference is that the Civil Service Commission LMS Learning Management System is an online training course for all employees based on what their director feel their needs are. Within their departments, they can go online as long as the director has given an allotted amount of time for them to educate themselves for whatever purpose that is departmentalized. When it comes to training of the HR staff, is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Right. That's me just sending my staff to training for certain criteria of training that they don't get with LMS. For instance, Excel training course. They have support specialists with Civil Service Commission. So that's where that money fits in terms of the HR staff training,
And that's an established fee.
an established fee.
A per employee fee says to the municipality through civil service.
Correct.
That's why it's constant 9,000, 9,000.
Right, but it's also including township physicals under Virtua.
Correct.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
Public have any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Open it up. We're gonna open it up for public comment. For any questions for Ms. Anderson concerning human resources, the budget discussion for human resources. Anyone online?
Not at this moment, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment is now closed for that portion.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next, we will hear from Ms. Reva Foster, who will be presenting the budget presentations for Community Affairs, Senior Services, and Veterans Affairs for 2024. Good evening, Ms. Foster.
Good evening, everyone. It's a good thing to be here. And I'm looking forward to your comments and your questions. This presentation is given for 2024, the budget presentation. And the comprehensive, proactive, community-based services and programs are specified in 3 departments, with the SMART goals and objectives are monthly accomplished and documented by the clearly defined direction, training, and complete dedication of our staff of employees who are determined each day to be empathetic to the needs of our total community in Willingboro. The Community Affairs Department, Senior Services, and Veterans Affairs consists of 6 budgeted full-time employees, 2 part-time employees, and 6 certified instructors and 1 certified master trainer. Next slide, please. I apologize that it's so small, but I tried to put everything on 1 page, and I will go down each line item. The first line item is awards and dues. In 2023, we asked for $150, and in 2024, we asked for $150. And this is to recognize the staff who are going to get certified. The next line item is travel expenses. And in this line, we had requested for 2023, $288, and we used the full amount of that. And in this 2024, we're asking for $300, which is just a little bit more, because we'll be attending the League of Municipalities, their annual event. And line item 028, which is training. As you can see, we used all of it almost in 2023, which was $60. And then in 2024, we have $500. We're asking for $500. And this is for certified training for the employees. And the reason we're asking for this is to allow this employees that we have to be trained in chronic disease, diabetes, and other elements, mental health, other elements that we feel that they should be familiar with. And they have not been trained in these. And we do have certified people that are, but they're not on call or in the senior center or in the building at all times. So with our employees being certified or completed training in that, we will be confident that they're doing the right job. The next item is clothing and equipment. In 2023, we had 800. And this year, we're going up to 1,000. And we're going to be purchasing work uniforms for our CDL, and that's certified driver's licensed employees, which is the 2 that we have, and for shirts for the staff and the receptionists, the clerks, and the part-time employees, and myself. Events, which is the next item, which is 060. In 2023, we asked for 13.9 for that. And this year we're asking for 14. And the reason we're doing that is because we give 10 annual events. And to include with those 10 annual events, we have music, caterers, and food for the participants. And we average about 250 at each event. Medical exams, which is 098. In 2023, we spent $207.15. In 2024, we'll have to spend $270 for their exams for 2 people. And those CDL drivers' exams are mandated by the state, and they have to be given by a registered person from the state that we send them to each year. And we receive the bill to pay it. And they must have it done every year, or they are not allowed to drive. And as you know, we do have a bus, a van that drives, and 2 drivers that drive the seniors and the veterans to their respective places. Program supplies. 2023, we asked for 9,000. And in 2024, we're asking for 5,000. And it's been reduced because the program supplies for instructional requirements are going down because we have sponsors that have supplied us with the chronic disease books that we use in our classes, the diabetes books that we use in our classes, and we're not going to be purchasing those. And the ones that we are purchasing, we're going to make sure our supplies are there for the seniors and the veterans that attend the building. Contractual, that number last year included projects and programs. We've combined them all under contract. And under contracts, we have $125,000 for that. And this is for the certified contractual instructors, their payment for them working at the senior center. And they are, as you may know better, as vendors. And we pay them based on the number of years they've been with us and based on how many classes they have. and they sign a contract in the beginning of the year, and we pay them accordingly. The cheapest person that we pay is $350 for a month. And the one that is paid the maximum is $1,500, and that's a month for 3 classes. So, and the person that's been there the longest generally is paid the most, and the ones that have least classes are paid less. Community affairs. In 2023, we had $1,687.50. And this year, for 2024, we're asking for 2,000. And community affairs designated programs and projects such as health fairs. We generally do 2, maybe 3 health fairs to make sure we include whatever is going on at the time. And a women's march, we've done that in 2023. We plan to do it again to show that the women are staying in touch with what we feel that they need to know about based on the regulations and the bills that are passed each year and other events with community affairs. Veterans Affairs, 2023 was $1,000. And in 2024, we're asking for $3,000. And the veterans designated programs and projects such as Memorial Day, V-Day, Commander's Request. We worked with the commanders in the area, and the commanders designate if and when we're going to be having events. And they put the schedule together, they put the program together, and they tell us what the protocol is for their various events. The Community Affairs and Senior Services and Veterans Affairs will continue to strategically and methodically work to have a great impact on legislations, public policies by leveraging our network and resources towards making the challenging economy and medical condition needs better for the people in our community, whether they are senior citizens, veterans, or the regular residents that live in our township. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Foster.
Oh, and the last one I had is the organization chart with the people that I mentioned before.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Foster?
Yes, I have one, Madam Mayor. Great presentation, but I do have one question as it relates to line item 132 with the contractual. Seeing that in 2023, you spent $37,574.50. 2024, you're requesting $125,000, which is approximately $87,426 difference.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Well,
So
it was.
if I can explain that for Councilman Anderson. So in last year's budget, there were 3 lines that were encompassed in the budget. One of them was the Office of Aging Projects, in which there was $15,911 expended. There was an Office of Aging Programs, which was $46,300. As we, the CFO, myself, Ms. Riva, were looking at these 3 individual line items, we thought that really those 2 other line items really were contractual items that should all be accounted for under the contractual line item. So what we did was we took the appropriations for those 2 additional line items and rolled it into one so we can get an actual clearer picture of the revenues that we are spending for contractual things, instead of some being called programs, some being called events, when they're all contractual. So we just took those appropriations and rolled them into that one line item. So it looks like that's a huge increase, But the overall increase for Mrs. Foster's budget for the 2024 budget year actually comes out to about $29,372, which is an increase. But that's why that one particular line item looks like it's a massive increase.
Okay, so that's the 46 and the 15 is roughly 51 and change, plus this 37,574? Is that what we're looking at when you say the three?
Those three,
Mhm.
it's about 100.
46, 16, and 38,000 was for the contractual.
Right, plus there was another 15,000 that was thrown in there. Right, I just want to make sure those are the three line items that we're going with this request.
Yes.
And may I say something? When we had the projects, we were doing startup projects. And those startup projects were the ones that we wanted to separate from the actual contractors, which is ones that's going on all the time. We have a schedule that the vendors follow. And the vendors follow that schedule based on whether they're just starting out, and that's on the projects. And they may or may not be made to continue. And then the programs are all the other programs that don't fit under the beginning of a project. And then the contractor, those are the old programs that we have continuously going. But it was an excellent idea that the township manager had in terms of bringing them all together and calculate them all together. And it's easier for me to keep track of them, as well as make sure that there's no discrepancy in people getting paid. The people that come in later, they paid less than the people that's been there the longest time. And that's what we want to concentrate on the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And just for clarification for what Councilman Anderson is talking about, so there is like a approximately $30,000 increase
Correct.
to that line.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Ms. Reba, Ms. Foster?
I just have one.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Perone.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Foster, for your presentation. My only question is relating to revenue. Do you have any revenue that you receive for the year? And because I see we have the contractual things that are being paid out, but do you happen to have, do you receive revenue, and do you have a figure of what that looks like from last year?
From last year, we do know that we did receive some revenue. And it's not fully discussed now because we're going to be talking about what we're planning to do with that in a group meeting with everyone here. And at that time, we'll be able to discuss that.
Those are actually grants that were received. Those aren't revenues.
Right, not the grants. I wasn't speaking about the grants. I meant more like, the different events you have, like, do you sell tickets or is everything free? Is there anything that you do at the senior center where you receive revenue based off of whatever program it is? If somebody's taking a knitting class, is that something that somebody's paying for, or is it free?
The programs that I just mentioned, such as the classes,
Mhm.
they are free unless they are sponsored by an organization. Sponsored meaning they come in and actually do it for us, and they're not paid to do it for us. And we do rent space in the senior center on Saturday and Sunday for churches. And we do rent space for different organizations that are qualified to pay or not pay. We have those that are paying and those that are not paying, and that's the revenue that we receive.
Okay, so that's what I would like to see, like how much revenue has been received, and just to see like if that can offset some of the request. That was just my thoughts on how realistic that is. What is the revenue amount for the past couple years, at least till 2022, 23. And what you're requesting and seeing if there's any, balance there. Meaning like if we decided, okay, we will not grant all of what you're requesting based off of that, we see that this is what you're receiving and estimations here. We recognize that you probably be able to function with, I'm just going to pick a number, 100,000 as opposed to 150,000. But, just having a more, for me, a more educated thought on yes or no with your programs. I know you do a wonderful job. I've attended some of the events that you've had, and just trying to figure out, how much is coming in as well. That's all my questions. I don't have any other questions.
And I understand totally. And we can look at that. We are getting, today we had 130 people in the senior center. And, but we can look at exactly how we can possibly bring in revenue with what we're doing. We're not calculating the sponsors that we generally get in to help us with our staffing and help us as not necessarily volunteers, but coming in and doing things. And we could estimate about how much they would be paid if they were working for us, and then give you the figures as to how much that would be in comparison to what we are actually budgeting for. And we can do that.
Okay. I actually do have another question. Do you keep like an attendance log of people coming in, visitors? And if so, are you able to identify how many of the visitors are residents of Willingboro as opposed to neighboring communities?
Yes, we do have everyone that comes in the center to sign in, and everyone that goes to a class, they also sign in there as well. And we received the federal funding to build the senior center. And with the federal funding, we were told that we cannot require other towns to pay to come to the center because it was not budgeted from the township budget. It was federal funding that we received.
No, I wasn't asking for them to pay. I was just curious to see how many of our residents were attending our events, comparing to how many people are visitors from outside communities.
I can tell you, most of the visitors that do come to the center are Willingboro residents. And we do have a few that come from Delran, which is a senior apartment there. And most of the senior apartments, we helped fill them because the seniors need a place to stay.
Right.
And in Burlington City, Frank Budd Building, and the Burlington Manor that's on the river, we help fill them after they lose a home or after they want to downsize or whatever. But we can calculate that and let you know that. But then we're doing things a little differently that seniors will feel very uncomfortable with, if I may say so, because the seniors are very sensitive to the friends that when we have an event, we give them a dress code and they can do dress code or not, but we're trying to bring everybody together. And then I'm making a list for those that are living in Willingboro and a list for those that are not living in Willingboro. That would be kind of difficult to keep everyone as one, seniors who need our help and need to work together. Do you understand that?
Yeah, no, I was referring to your attendance sheet. So when they check in, they put their name and they're from Willingboro, or their name and they're from Delran. Just keeping a log of how much of our community residents are we actually serving. It's a curiosity for me because I appreciate that we have a senior center in Willingboro. A lot of communities don't have something such as vast as what we have, thanks to you, Ms. Foster. But it's something that I think it's important that we recognize to see where this is budget time. So everything that all of the departments that present before us are monies that's coming from the people that live here that pay taxes. So these questions that I ask is not a direct question to diminish any department, but to ask the tough questions, to speak for the residents that are not sitting in the seat that I'm sitting in, to make sure that what we are putting out, or what we are awarding to the different departments that is coming, it's going to our community of Willingboro. I'm not stating that other people from different communities can't visit here or attend the senior center. I just would like to know how much of the residents are actually Willingboro residents. And I think it's something that we should keep track of. If you haven't already been keeping track of it, I think it's something we should keep track of. I think it's important to know.
Thank you, and I will.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation again.
I think that's a good point. And I think overall, Mr. Harris, I think we can keep track. I don't think Ms. Councilwoman Perone was saying to disparage anybody else. It was just so that we know,
Statistics.
what we're funding. And we do understand, if the building's federally funded,
Sure.
but during budget time, we are funding activities. And again, we want to be neighbors, obviously.
Yes.
But I do think, that's a great question, and great for us overall to know, what we're servicing. Did anybody have any other questions? Any question? Okay.
Ms. Foster, thank you for the presentation.
Uh-huh.
My only question is about the exams for the CDL drivers. I was wondering if that expense could be considered part of the HR budget, where they have the other cluster of medical exams and things like that, just to keep all the medical exams together.
Mhm.
Just wondering if it's a reason why it needs to be separated, or is it a consideration to consolidate it?
I will check with the regulations specifically, and the doctors that they go to in Mount Laurel, and see if in fact it can be.
Okay.
Well, I can answer that question. There would be no real reason why that expense has to stay
No.
in senior services. We have to pay for the exam, but where we charge it to is up to us, and that could very well go under HR category. But that's something that we can look at. I do want to make just one comment regarding the revenues. When we get to the revenue generating portion of our budget, we will go over that with the CFO. But when we project revenues, we can't really project any more than were previously received in the preceding year. Most of the revenue that comes from the senior center are from rentals, room rentals, space rentals. And one thing that I will say is that the rates that are being rented are being given in the senior center are substantially less than rates that we are charging in the municipality, which is fine if it is the intent for those spaces to be solely rented by and for seniors. But what I am experiencing or coming to understand is that people do not want to pay the rate for the JFK Center, so then they are subsequently renting the senior center at a discounted rate, and I think that's inappropriate. I think if the seniors are going to rent the space for senior birthdays or whatever, then that's fine. But people shouldn't be allowed to rent the senior center just because it's cheaper than the rental at the JFK Center for the same purposes. So that is something that we are going to look at in 2024 to make sure the rental rooms, the rates are in line with the JFK if the purposes are very similar. So, yeah.
Also, Ms. Foster,
Yes.
when referencing, I was listening to you when you were talking about the instructors for the classes.
Yes.
Do we keep account of the attendance of those classes? And, I would think that someone who does a full class would get paid more than someone who does a, class that's not so full, as opposed to it being based on or solely based on seniority?
Yeah, we do. And
Okay.
depending, especially on the computer classes, the enrollment isn't that large.
Mm.
And I'm happy to see, some days when someone is out sick and, the instructor is there working with 2 or 3
Mm.
people and teaching them how to use their phones and teaching them how to use their computers. But it is.
Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, and then you keep an eye on if we need to cut classes or increase classes for various
Yes, we do.
purposes. Okay.
Yeah. And we have staff that does that also, that the purpose is to go and check each class and get the attendance sheets from each class for each day,
Okay.
that they have a book and the book has the days and all, and we keep that. And we know how many people are taking the class and how many people are not taking the class.
Okay. And I just want to make sure we adjust accordingly with the data that's collected. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Foster, for your presentation. One thing, just on the attendance, I know you keep the sheets of attendance, but has there been any consideration of switching over to a digital tracking that may be more useful information, as it won't be as cumbersome to tally up attendance for classes or usage of the senior center?
Yeah, what we do is we have the clerks and we have the receptionists at the front desk do the tally up the number of people that came in on a given day and put the total at the top of the sheet. And then, yes, it would be better if we could do that, electronically or have IT help us with that. But this is the way we have been doing it. And to make it easier, they are looking at how many came in on a given day and then how many came in the month. And that's how I know how to report on my reports, how many come in for the year.
Okay.
So that's.
Yeah, maybe something similar to like what's at the front of the JFK,
Yes.
where they have that sign-in kiosk that you can type in. That might be a good transition
Yes.
for that. And then I did have a question about the open employees that you noted.
Mhm.
There are those 2 open positions that are not filled at the moment,
Yes.
and those are the administrative and center services positions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'd like to open up for public comment for the budget presentation of Community Affairs, Senior Services, and Veteran Affairs. Is there anyone online?
Not at this moment, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Public comment is now closed. Thank you, Ms. Foster.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. So next we will have a presentation from our Communications Department, which is division of the Manager's Office, but it's led by Miss Tanya Jackson, AKA Tanya Around Town. And I wanted her.
I didn't know what was going. I didn't know.
Keep it Disney.
Never know, right? Never know.
I thought it would be beneficial to have our Communications Department do a separate budget presentation outside of the Manager's Office because of the amount of contact they have with the community. And we want to be clear as to what those budgets are being utilized for and allow anyone to have any specific questions related to that. So that being said, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council, and all those assembled. As Mr. Harris said, I almost called you pastor, I'm sorry. As Mr. Harris shared, I serve as the Public Information
Well, she wants to
Officer.
put me out to pasture. Is that what she said?
Enterprise, and serve over the Communications Department. We tapped into the W in our strategic plan of providing a well-connected and educated community. That serves as our goal. And our narrative is that we're responsible for keeping the public informed, engaged, and connected to the township by utilizing various social media platforms, the website, Gov Delivery, which we primarily use as the Willingboro Weekly, which is our e-newsletter, digital bulletin boards, the public access channel, YouTube, lawn signs, US mail where feasible, and any other needs that are necessary. We also ensured it this year and requesting that we continue to ensure every resident has access to the township calendar by mailing it to the home of every resident. And being a integral part of township events, activities, updates in an effort to position ourselves to keep residents informed, assisting with township events and taking a lead where deemed appropriate. So our budget request is for $85,000. That incorporates the Granicus and contractor services of $25,000, which encompasses our website, Gov Delivery, and our most prized possession, our Willingboro Connect. Also, our township marketing and promotional services at $10,000, community calendar and holiday mailer, which we are requesting to print and mail to our residents for $25,000. Our vendor services and training, supplies and training for $3,000, and then community engagement events, which has been initiative that has just come under communications by the spirit of which it is. And in encompassing that, we did do the tree lighting. Borough en Blanc was a new event, and Willingboro Community Day is an event that is proposed for 2024, which we're requesting at $20,000 as a contributor to that. And then under miscellaneous, we have $2,000. Just as a comparison, in 2023, the Granicus and contractual services stayed the same, as well as the marketing services. The mailings were $20,000. We are asking for an increase of $25,000. Vendor services were $5,000, and we are reducing that at $3,000. And community engagement events, we did not have a budget for. So we kind of, because we have all our money kind of in one pot, we navigated where we could, and so we're requesting $20,000 for that. And then under miscellaneous services would be $2,000. So our budget request last year was $60,000, this year's $85,000. So it is a $25,000 increase. And we have on the next slide, Sean, if you can just advance with me, there is the explanations of the increases and decreases. The increase of $5,000 for community mailing is an increase to reflect the mailing again of the calendar to every resident, as well as our holiday event flyer. My stuff didn't come up bold on those slides. I apologize, public, for that. So that is a $5,000 increase. There is a decrease in vendor services at $3,000. Again, the $20,000 is a new addition to community engagement events, added to include the costs associated with the community engagement events. The township tree lighting, which does include the decorating and the presentation and programs of the township tree lighting, Borough en Blanc, and the Willingboro Community Day contribution. I understand this is going to be proposed as a township sponsored event. So the communications department will be positioned to contribute that as needed. And then a miscellaneous support services of a decrease of $2,000. We are a department of 3 right now. That includes myself, Assistant Public Information Office, as well as a graphic artist. And we do our part to inspire and nurture a welcoming and inclusive community that encourages and embodies engagement, collaboration, and equity. And we are happy to serve. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
Have any questions from the council?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead,
Um,
Councilman
look-
Anderson.
Looking at the community engagements events, I see you have a couple mentioned with et cetera. What I would like to see is a whole breakdown of all the events, because I know we just did a back to school event and so forth. And I also realized that at the last minute, different events pop up. So it would be good if council had a complete visual, so we understand what those dollars are going for.
Absolutely. So just in response to that, if you will look on the budget comparison page, I may have put et cetera on the request line, but I did try to be inclusive on the explanation page of allotting $12,000 for the township tree lighting, $5,000 for the Borough en Blanc, and then $3,000 for the community day contribution, which would get us to the $20,000.
And that's all the events?
That is all that I am projecting for 2023. I mean 2024, but I am going to add that I recognize that did do come. We do have occurrences in 2023. We had the reception for the for the Performing Arts Center that we did not anticipate, but we, ensured that that happened, as well as the ribbon cutting for the amphitheater. So while these are the events that I anticipate for 2024, we do try to be in a position to accommodate the needs of the council and the administration to ensure that any milestone events that are occurring in our community are properly positioned to connect and engage the community.
All right, and if from my standpoint, if there are any other pop-up events, meaning if things come, that was thought about, whatever, I would just appreciate if council can get as much notice as possible before it's out there, before it's worked on.
Understood.
Because we're the ones voting on this budget and we need to really understand what we're voting on. We don't want to keep expanding it because different things are popping up. So to the best of your ability, if we
Yes.
can just know in advance, as far as advance as possible. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Woman. You can go right after Councilwoman Worthy, Councilwoman Perone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Jackson, I was curious for the mailer for the calendar.
Yes.
I was wondering if, in the spirit of One Willingboro, if we could consider partnering with the school district. They have about 3,500 students, and perhaps we can give the calendars to the schools and they can distribute them through the schools. That would be probably a significant decrease in terms of what needs to be mailed. I know before COVID, we would work with the school district to hand out flyers of different programs that would happen in recreation. And the school district was very willing to make sure that each classroom teacher received a set. So that might be something that just to consider to help bring down the cost of postage and to keep us, as one united community. The other was, can you say more about the township marketing promotional services? I saw the $10,000, but I don't fully understand what that includes.
So, and a lot of that may include lawn signs, marketing for different events. Sometimes it may be township swag. We have lately been extended the opportunity to go to back to school events or any other events representing Willingboro, and we like Willingboro to be well represented. So if it's a mug or a t-shirt or pencil or pen or whatever, that kind of all falls into that, as well as, like I said, the normal marketing needs. But it might be signs, it might be a lawn sign, or any other posters would all kind of fall into that. And just to address your note about the mailing, and I appreciate that. I guess we would have to troubleshoot for those people who do not have children in the community, how we would get the calendar to mail them, because right now we use a printer who uses the mail house, and they just put in 08046 and mail it. So it's a much easier job request, if you will, to say, send it to every resident, and it may be a little bit more taxing and maybe even a little bit more costly to ask them to kind of
To select them.
select. So
Understood.
just
Okay.
something to keep in mind as I'm kind of meditating on that suggestion. But I do appreciate, bringing that thought to mind.
No problem. And one more thing I had in terms of the upcoming events for 24.
Yes.
I was curious if perhaps you could consider talking to all the departments to think about what big news they may have that's coming up, where they may want to do a ribbon cutting, like for the Performing Arts Center, or with the new equipment for rec that's going to be going in. They might want to do something, if perhaps you could consider that, because while these events look great, I don't think that they fully represent all the things that we're anticipating for 2024. And then we'll be right back at pop-up stuff and things that aren't accounted for. So just a consideration.
Very good. I appreciate that. That's a very good suggestion, and we can certainly do that.
Councilwoman Perone.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jackson, for your presentation. My first question is, can you explain what is, I'm not familiar with it, Borough en Blanc? What is that?
Borough en Blanc this year was based on the Dinner en Blanc, which is a white outdoor party that a lot of the major cities have taken upon. And we did host it for the first time in September for this year.
Sorry. I apologize. Somebody just rang me. and brought me back on.
Okay, okay, that was you. I'm
That would
sorry.
be Pepsi
Yes.
and Cola.
Okay, that's okay. That's
Sorry.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know who that was, but I appreciate, yes, so that's really what that is. Just a outdoor dinner party, for lack of a better description, for the community.
Okay, my other question, now that dinner party you had, you charged for that, for people to attend that event, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, was that well attended?
Yeah, so we
No,
had
no,
100
please.
guests at $50 per person. So
Mhm.
we generated $5,000. It was a $10,000 event. But we kind of, like I said, so we absorbed half of those costs.
Mhm. And I think that event, it was.
Well, we did sell out. I'm sorry, we sold 100 because we only offered 100, so we sold out of that event.
Right, and you had to buy 2 tickets, so you had to come as a pair. And so each person had to spend $100 in order to attend.
That is correct.
And that event, they had to bring their own food
Yes,
and their own drinks.
yes, that is
And the-
the model of Dinner en Blanc. So I'm happy to share more information, but if you do a quick Google of Dinner en Blanc, you will see that that is the model. The only thing that we did differently as a benefit to our community members is we provided tables and chairs, but usually people who attend, they bring everything.
But my question is, why are we paying for it if everybody's bringing their own food and drinks? In your presentation, you're requesting, I don't have it in front of me, so whatever the figure is, you're requesting a figure, but yet we are charging the community to attend, and they can't attend on their own. They have to attend by 2. So you're asking for $100 and bring your own food and bring your own drinks. I'm just not really connecting. Maybe I need to read the article that you're referring to, then it will make more sense to me. What it reminds me of is and I've been to these cabarets. A lot of the fraternities, sororities have cabarets, but particularly the cabaret is you bring your own food and drink, but the intent is, and you buy a ticket. The intent is that you're raising money for some sort of awareness, maybe it be the homeless or cancer. And that money, when you buy a ticket, is going for that purpose. In addition to partial of the ticket that we're selling, you provide some sort of entertainment. Maybe you have a music artist or something where that's what a cabaret is. You provide the entertainment and you're asking people to invest in this event so that way you can raise money for another purpose. So I'm not really familiar with the Borough en Blanc, but if you can provide more information for me, that will be helpful. Maybe I can understand it better when I see what you're referring to. The other concern that I have is that we have a Parks and Recreation department and we have not heard from them yet. So I'm not exactly sure why is it that communications is putting on events. To my understanding, this department was created to assist the Parks and Recreation's events that are put on by our township. So that means i.e. Designing lawn signs or printing out flyers, etc. So it seems that now the communications department is taking the initiatives of putting on an event. And I think that's, what should I say? It kind of defeats the purpose of having a Parks and Recreation department. And we're also putting more resources as far as money into 2 different areas of departments where I don't think that that's beneficial for the community as it pertains to the budget. So why is it that you're putting on an event when we have the Parks and Recreation who are supposed to put on events?
Thank you. I'm going to try to remember all of your questions.
I'm sorry, I'm so long.
No, it's okay. So I think in terms of Borough en Blanc and expenses you're talking about, so we charged the residents $50 per person, but like I said, it costs us more than we charge. Some of the things that we have to take care of, basically the entertainment. So we had, I think, a 8-person band. We also provided tables and chairs, but those were rentals because we do not have 100 chairs and tables to provide for the community. So, and linen as well, decorations. So we did, and if you need an itemized list of those expenses, we're happy to present that. But I assure you that none of that money was excess. It's
You
not
said we
a
don't have
fundraiser.
tables and chairs?
We didn't have the 100 chairs and tables, well, I would think it was more, it was like 15 long tables and chairs. We did rent those out. I mean, we rented.
I'm surprised by
Rented.
that statement. I thought we had, I mean, I've seen tables and chairs at the JFK Center. We do have tables and chairs. Are you meaning a different style of tables? Is that what you're referring
Had
to?
long tables for this event, rectangular tables, and we rented the chairs as well as the linen and all of the linen for the event. Yes.
Okay, so we have circle tables. So you're saying that you rented rectangular tables, which we don't have. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
That is correct. And to your question, which is, it's a valid one, regarding the events that the communications has incorporated. Quite honestly, that money probably could be spent or set any place. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Recreation and Parks, as I know they're coming up or whatever. I do know that a lot of their events are geared more toward programming. They do have a few key events, but what we're trying to move in the spirit is away from what our residents have recognized or referred to as Recreation and Parks events to more township sponsored events. So we're just want to be a part of that process of making that transition. But if there is opposition to having the money in the communications department and maybe having it someplace else, I just want to encourage, I guess, or propose that we do make accommodations for those events. To Councilman Anderson's point and those others, we don't want, we're gonna try to avoid pop-ups and that kind of thing. So we just want to note the things that have been led by and have come out of the township manager's office, out of discussions from that perspective. But whatever way the township or the council would like to execute those events, we will support.
And
Okay.
if I just may add to that, just because an event is sponsored or hosted out of the township manager's office, that is not at the exclusion of the other departments.
Absolutely.
Recreation was very instrumental, and other departments as well as putting together that event.
Yes, and thank you for that point, because I will say the one thing, because as I shared, there are only 3 people in our department. So there's not one event that we haven't had to tap in every department. So we do public works, we do recreation, we do police and fire. Make sure everybody is at the table to make sure that all of our logistics and it has been I'm going to say from my seat, a good experience to have all of our departments coming together, collaborating, having a conversation. And again, I will not put any words in Recreation and Parks Department, but we're trying to avoid it just being your department. We even talked about the fire EMS, when they have their open house, we want that to be all encompassing. So it's just not them over there. So we tap it into everybody and working together to make these township events.
Yeah, and how that event came about, actually, I believe it was Miss Jackson went into another township, participated in the event, and she was sharing her experience. And I was like, oh, that may be something good for Willingboro. And I encouraged them to go and try it. And they did all the legwork and worked it out. And I think it was a very successful program and well received by those who did participate. It was not mandated that everyone participate. It was open to anyone who chose to participate. But the only thing, there was just a certain number of seats that were available because it was just a trial for us. And I think it was a very successful event.
Yeah, I understand that. And I know that all of you have heard me speak to this before. Again, a lot of my concern is, what are we giving back? Everything we're speaking about, as far as every single dollar, every single penny, it's coming from the taxpayers. So I have an issue when we're charging for everything. And I just would like for us to look at the events that are being put forward, and, a lovely all white dinner party, I love it. Let's buy food, and you know what? It's free. Put the circle tables up there. We have circle tablecloths. It's free to our residents. We have a capacity of 300. First 300s, you got a free ticket, and a beautiful band is going to play music for you. I want to see more of that. We don't get enough of it. We do a lot for our children, trunk or treat, everything for we do a lot for the seniors. But you know what? There's there's additional population here, the working parents, and there's not enough of giving back. Like I said before, we charge for the swimming pools. We're charging, bring your own food, bring your own drinks. I'm just like, when is it going to be? We have dinner for you. You're invited. And it should be beautiful. Candles. I love, I know, Ms. Jackson, you have nice taste. So I'm sure, I didn't attend that event, but I'm pretty sure it was lovely. But again, I just want us to be careful with not giving things back to the community. And so when we do these budgets, and I'm looking at Parks and Recreation, I didn't hear from them yet, but I'm hoping to hear more about events that you're putting on. And we're voting here, the 5 of us are voting for this dollar amount for these areas that include events for the community, and that is free. No charge. No charge. But not everything, but just some things,
Right.
Well, I mean, the tree lighting's free. The community day was free. We do offer a lot of free things. I mean, from my perspective, we do offer plenty of free things. And then I think the township is allowed to have some different events that you do charge. We have the Jazz Festival for free.
But you pay for parking.
And that's a huge expense.
But the employees had to pay, the residents had to pay for parking to go to the Jazz Festival. And the Jazz Festival is attended by multiple different surrounding communities. When is it that, again, you live here, guess what? You can pull up to the Jazz Festival, you park for free. Again, amenities, that's what I'm speaking of. The tree lighting, okay, if you have children, you want to go look at the tree, perfect, beautiful. It's the tree lighting. At the end of the day, we can light a tree anywhere. I'm talking about literally putting on something that's nice for the working people that are paying the taxes here. That's all I'm saying. And I didn't understand what Blanc, but Ms. Jackson explained what that was. And I do remember the all-white party, which it was labeled differently on the advertisement. I was just confused as to why are we charging people $100 and they have to bring their own food and their own drinks and their own silverware and their own plates. I just didn't understand it. And I'm concerned that this department is asking for funding for their department that has to do with events when we already have a Parks and Recreation, and that is the department that legitimately was for events. And the communications department was to support the events that are put on by that department. So I'm seeing a growing number in the communications department, and it's not necessarily just paper printing, but it has more to do with event planning. And so I think there seems to be a division and a confusion going on, and we're spending our resources in areas where I think we just need to take another look at that. And so that's what I'm bringing it to the table as a question to her presentation. And just also adding that, you know what, let's put on a dinner, a Christmas dinner, invite the community, 2 tickets per family, whatever it's going to be, the capacity that we can have it. Decorate the gymnasium, have all the circle tables, and have a beautiful Christmas party. And you know what? It's free. Not just lighting the Christmas tree. That's, it is what it is, right? We've done that many of years. But again, events that are meaningful, that are thoughtful, and that sometimes it just doesn't cost the community another dollar. That's all I'm saying, just to keep that in mind.
Right, I appreciate it. I don't want like you dumb me and down my tree lighting video.
No, the tree lighting was beautiful. I love the tree lighting. I love that we do that. I'm not putting down any event that we have, by the way. I love all of our events. I'm just speaking to the point of we kind of charge for everything. And then the things that we don't charge for, a lot of it's for the children. We give out Christmas toys, which we ask for donations for that. So that's not necessarily what we're all purchasing these toys. We ask for donations. So we do a lot for our senior community. I'm just asking that this is the time for me to discuss it, right? We're doing budgets. What are we giving? What event that we're going to put on for our working community, right? That are working to pay these taxes. What are we giving back, right? So that's all I'm asking. It's just to keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Deputy Mayor Whitfield.
Thank you, Tanya, for your presentation. I just had one thing under the marketing and promotional services. I
Yes.
do know that we use quite a bit of the yard signs, to promote different events, but oftentimes the text on the signs and the graphics are very difficult to read on that scale. Has the department considered doing some sort of like reusable sign where you can slide in a poster that might be protected by plastic or something like that, so that we're not constantly printing different signs that are all difficult to read?
Yes, yes. So I appreciate that note. We have talked about reusable signs as well as typically or in the past, we have modeled the lawn sign greatly on the flyer, but we have received feedback and recognized the importance of just trying to make it as simpler and clearer as possible. So we've definitely taken that in consideration, and we will continue to do that and look a little bit more into opportunities where we can use the signs, because I actually am crushed when I have to discard the signs because
A lot of
it
signs.
is an investment. But we also understand that, for, many of our residents, that's how they find out about different things, despite all the other vehicles that we have. Some people are just not connected, and the only way we can bring them into the fold is by displaying lawn signs. But yes, we definitely will take that in consideration.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, because the reusable signs may be a larger investment, but
Mhm.
it may be a one-time,
Right.
infrastructure investment, and then the cost per printing might be cheaper. So I'd be interested in seeing that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Madam Mayor, just for clarification, when I mentioned pop-up events, because I understand this is a pop-up, just meaning that it's on the calendar that we're having this event.
Yes, I got it.
I just wanted the clarification.
Yes.
And I was unable to attend because I was at another event, but I heard it was a beautiful event. It was a great idea. It was something different, thinking out the box. And I just hope that we can continue to do that. Great job.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And then I have my only concern, first I want to say, I think the community and engagement events that you listed, they were well done. And there is a level of class to them that, I think I can definitely see. But I'm a little concerned about that being one of the priorities in that office, because I think we still have some room to grow for communications. I am very pleased with the trajectory that we're going in with communications, but I really would like the focus to be communications, because I just feel like we're still only touching a portion of our residents.
Okay.
And making sure, just figuring out the best way right now on how to communicate. The engagement part, I think, is a little tricky, but my concern is really to communicate and make sure the communication is available to our residents, by whatever means is effective. So I wouldn't even mind these events happening. Recreation, or I don't know, I was talking to Mr. Harris one time, I think you may do like a subcommittee or a group that for special events. But I am a little concerned with it being just in this department only because of the focus.
Right.
I do think, like I said, again, they were well done. I don't think they need to go anywhere. But
Yeah.
that to me, that's not the focus.
I understand, and certainly that has definitely been part of the thought process. I've even jokingly said to Mr. Harris, I'm not, necessarily trying to get in the event business, but I also see the benefit of community engagement events, like you say, regardless of where they land. And I'm certainly also receptive to a broader conversation about where we can expand our opportunities to communicate with our residents. But what I will say that even whether it's our own community engagement events or when we've been out, whether at the schools or different things, is also another opportunity to bring residents in, because oftentimes I speak to residents and they may say, I didn't know about this event. And I always say, how are you getting your information about the township? And a lot of times they are not, right? So they're not connected in any way. So that's an opportunity to either refer them to our website or ask them to download the app or whatever. So getting out in the community. And I do enjoy my role as Tanya Around Town, but it does allow us to get outside of the desk, outside of the
Right.
walls, connect with members, and events are another way of doing that, but certainly not intended to be our primary way of communicating with our residents. That's always going to be our priority. So if there are other opportunities that we can tap into to connect our residents, we're certainly receptive to that. So thank you for bringing that to my.
Right, and I do think, just being around, I do think that is a huge step in the direction that I think we're trying to get to. But I would also like to see the focus on, creating the metrics and increasing those metrics,
Okay.
so that we know what we're dealing with, or this is our best way to communicate. We got 1,000 people over here, not so much over here.
Sure.
And that's what I'm looking to invest in,
Okay.
for the communications department.
Thank you. And I think the last number was 1908 subscribers to Willingboro Connect. No play on 1908, but that's what the number is. Okay, at 1913, okay. It's all.
No, I appreciate that.
All right.
I'd like to open up for public comment for the budget presentation for communications. Is there anyone online?
Not at this moment, Mayor.
Thank you. Public comment is now closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And last but
Jackson, you nasty.
definitely not least, is recreation.
It's definitely warm. It's a little bit spicy. A little bit spicy.
Led by Ms. Dion Bolden.
Yes.
Good evening, Ms. Bolden.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, Mr. Harris, Madam Mayor, the public. I am Dion Bolden. I am the Acton Recreation and Parks Director, and this will be my 2024 budget presentation. Next slide, please. The Recreation and Parks Department provide a wide variety of comprehensive programs, activities, and events in our community, also offering beautiful landscapes, trails, and parks while enhancing the overall quality of life. So we pretty much do it all, from the babies to the seniors. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay. So awards and dues, for 2024, I am asking for $2,300, which is a $420 increase. And basically what this is for is because we do have some of my team members that are certified in different areas. So I do have someone that's certified as an aquatics facility manager, also a certified playground inspector. So these are renewal fees. And then also myself and another team member, we're part of the National Recreation and Parks memberships. So that has allowed us to acquire our certification for Parks and Recreation, becoming a professional. And so we actually took those classes on our own to become certified, and it allowed us to find out best practices for our field basically. And so I can't equate it to like the bar for an attorney, but it's kind of a minimum number of people who are kind of like certified in Parks and Recreation. So this allows us to take additional classes through that. And then also I have team members who are part of the New Jersey Recreation and Parks membership. So we have our own conference that we attend as well. So they can go down there and get additional practices, bring things back that they can turnkey for the office as well. So that's why there's an increase in that particular line. For travel expense, I'm asking for 400 in 2024. There's 0 in 2023, and that's because I've never attended the League of Municipalities. And talking to some of my counterparts, they have suggested that there's information down there that would be beneficial to me as well, and not just attend our Recreation and Parks Conference, but attend the League of Municipalities. So this year would be the first year that I will be attending. So I have put that in the budget for next year as well. For office supplies, I'm asking for $825. Last year it was $850. And most of our supplies come out of one pot for all of the departments, but we have a specialty machine in our department where we do the posters and the banners. So sometimes you might come into the rec and you might see a big poster or banner in a different buildings or offices. And it requires specialty toner and paper that go along with that machine. So since that machine is in our office, we have a company that services that particular machine. So that's what that funding is for. Training, a $200 increase. Again, this is including the training for myself for the League of Municipalities. And then also for the award and dues number is for our memberships for the New Jersey Recreation and Parks. And then the training is for my team members to be able to attend the conference that's in Atlantic City as well. The events line, I pretty much kept that the same. That is, sometimes there's a breakage when we might have an event like Phenomenal Woman where there may be a fee, or we had the hip hop event. And so they are events that we have that we charge a fee for, but then sometimes there's some breakage if we still have to get awards for those that we're honoring for Phenomenal Woman, and the ticket price might not be able to cover all of those expenses. So that kind of gives us a little bit of wiggle room in that particular area. The public events line, that has increased by $1,500. And basically, these are the events that are free to the public. And so understanding Councilwoman Peron's concern with regards to some of the events, yes, Jingle Jangle Jam, the teen night, trunk or treat, the egg hunt, the drive-through thing that we have for the community, those ones are particularly geared for the youth, along with our movie nights. But we also had the Willingboro Community Day that was kind of a parent and child event. And then we also had the Friday Night Lives that we had at the amphitheater where we had the bands come out. So we did an increase in the number that we're asking for because we intend on adding additional bands. So that was something that was kind of more like a grown folk type of event. We had different genres of music for each of the months. And so we're looking to, instead of having one a month for the summer months, we're looking to have 2 a month. And so they are fees that are associated with having the bands to come out. We didn't have to worry about food because we did talk to a lot of thank you very much, that's it. To actually come out to just kind of participate. And so whatever, they made, and they were more than willing to actually come out. So that was attended greatly, and people have, asked if we were going to continue it. So again, we're just looking to actually increase that going into the upcoming year. Sorry, page 2. Next slide, please, Sean. Program supplies, that pretty much stayed the same as well. And this is for items dealing with the community garden. We're looking to start up the aquaponics, our camp, wrestling, baseball, boxing, all the different events that we have, any supplies that they have. With some of the other events, programs like camp and wrestling, we do have registrations associated with it. So we try to cover some of their expenses from that. But something like the community garden and aquaponics, there aren't a lot of events that are money generating. So we need to supply them with whether it's dirt or a shovel or a rake or, pots or whatever it is that they're looking to have outside in the community garden. This allows us to assist them with purchasing those additional supplies. Our contractual line actually went down $2,400. This particular line covers us for the movie license. So for us to actually play the movies that we do, we actually have to have a license because if you actually showing movies and you don't have a license, it's illegal. The same thing with the music license. So anytime we're playing music at the Jazz Festival or any of the events that we have, we're required as a municipality to also have a music license. The porta potties that you see around town in certain areas like Crystal Lake and like Fairmount Park, and those are like summer rentals, so the price kind of like fluctuates. So we anticipate $12,000, and then also with our MyRec system, that's the system that we use that does it all for us: registration, events, renting a banquet hall, renting a pavilion, all of that is done in our MyRec system. And then we have our Deer Park water coolers that we have at the parks, the boxing gym, the wellness center, our office, et cetera. And there was a decrease because we had a contract with one of our co-ops, and we no longer went into that agreement for the upcoming year, for this year. So it decreased. And so therefore next year, we're not going to be doing the same thing. So that's why there's a decrease in the contractual number. Building and grounds, that actually stayed level as well. And that is all encompassing because of the park area, and then all of the different fields fall underneath our purview. So sometimes we may have to buy mulch, or for the baseball fields, we may actually have to buy dirt, or there could be a swing that's broken. We need to get that repaired because again, team members in my office, they also do the playground inspections for the township as well as the school district. So if there's anything that we need to repair, then this is just kind of giving us the funds to be able to do those repairs. Signs inside the park, anything that we need to kind of change out, that falls underneath that line item. Jazz Festival, we had asked for 90,000 last year, 100,000 this year, so it's a $10,000 swing. And actually, so with that, we know that $100,000 going into 2024 is not the same $100,000 for 2023, 2020, or anything like that, right? So your money isn't stretching as long. And for example, for the Jazz Festival this year, we spent, it was $78,000 just for the artist alone, and then $77,000 for everything else that we had to do. So that's, you know, the DJ, the hostess, the signs, the barricades, the tent, the caterer, all of those particular things, that's $77,000. And again, $78,000 just for the artist alone. So that's just kind of like a nest egg to kind of help us. And then we always talk about try not to wait to the last minute to obtain some of the artists that we have. In order to obtain a lot of the headliners, you have to have deposits ready for them to lock them in. Anything else is just a conversation. So sometimes we run into having these conversations, but we may not have the funds to be able to lock them in, because with them, it's a contract and they're serious. And if they're not coming here, then they're on to the next, whether it be the Dell or wherever they're kind of doing these things. So we have to be able to have the funds to be able to lock these individuals in and lock them in early. We did, you know, of course, receive sponsorships for the Jazz Festival. Those like $14,000. But still in the grand scheme of things. And then when we're talking about offering, you know, free things for the community, I'm a member of the community. I live here and work here, so I completely understand. But when we're looking at parking alone, it was able to generate revenue of $30,000. So even if we don't have that, it's still going to be a part of the budget, because you're still going to have to fit it in somewhere, you know what I mean? So I understand that it can be something that's given to the community, but it's still going to be absorbed in our budget some type of way. And then going down to the Juneteenth event, that decreased by $2,000, and there was a $2,000 less that I was asking for 2024. And then that was because there were a couple of groups that we have reached out to that fell through in the last minute, and also mobile museum. But what we're looking to do, and this is something that Councilwoman Worthy had brought up, I think like a couple of years ago, that I was able to put together the sponsorship booklet, right? So it's going to have all of the events throughout the year. Before, when we're getting ready to kind of roll it out, there were some things that we just kind of needed to tweak so that we're just kind of like on the same page of the municipality, and delivering something to the residents that kind of encompasses what the township, you know, looks like. So we're going to be working to make sure we do that again in the beginning of the year. And then basically it can cover the variety of events that we have throughout the year, at least our signature ones, right? So we can incorporate maybe the tree lighting. We'll have the Jazz Festival, we'll have Juneteenth, and some of the other events that are earlier in the year, and then we can kind of send it out. So if individuals are interested in sponsoring it, it's the same thing with the Friday Night Lives. This Friday Night Live can be, you know, hosted by X company or something like that. And then those funds would be able to pay for that particular band on that particular night. But, you know, if everybody's given the information early on, then they can say, I want to lock into this one and lock into that one, and it kind of gives them time. So that's the goal. So then that way, that can be additional funds that will come into the township to be able to offset some of these events that, you know, we do have. And then again, you know, with a Friday Night Live that we have, those were free to the community. But again, it was something that we still had to pay for as a township. But if we also get sponsorships, then that can definitely help that as well. So with my overall operating budget from last year to this year, it was a $95 increase for the operating budget, and then an $8,000 increase for our public events. I think that concludes my next slide. I think that's my thank you. Oh, org chart. Okay, thank you. Yes, okay. So then the org chart, so there's I think I maybe have 2 positions that are currently vacant. But that is kind of what our office looks like. And the next slide, I believe that's the thank you. There we go. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
So I am open and.
Any questions from council?
Absolutely.
Oh,
We'll start with Councilman Anderson.
All right,
Right,
just-
be gentle.
Just a quick question.
right.
I see we have public events, 2 items listed under line item 074 and 132. Is it possible to combine those? Well, I guess the question is, how come you didn't combine them? They're broken out at 20,000, Jazz Fest 100, and then Juneteenth. They all listed as public events.
Oh, well, they're kind of different line items. So the top of the operating budget, if you see the line item has like 370, and then the public events, it actually has the 420 number.
Right, but I'm saying,
So
could we
I would
combine
have
it
to
as
talk
public
to the
events or no?
CFO. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I wouldn't be able to speak to that.
Okay. All right, the other thing.
And I don't know if they're like broken out, but just to kind of see what is going to be given for those particular events.
Because I see 2 of them is listed as 074, but you have them separated.
Correct, because the numbers preceding it are
Okay.
different. One, the 074 underneath the Jazz Fest that has the 420 number, and then the other 074
It's
has a
370.
37. Yes, exactly. So it's identified different on the budget lines. So if you see the preceding
Okay.
numbers, they're different. Mhm.
All right, then also, line item 158, building and grounds.
Yes.
You mentioned something about, maintenance with the school district. Something with the.
Oh,
is
no,
that a
I was.
shared service or something, or what is that?
Yes, so Mr. Brunson, because he's a certified playground inspector, they also give him a call for him to
Oh,
actually,
so it's a shared service agreement we have in place?
I believe so, but I can verify.
Can we confirm?
Yeah, we can confirm.
Okay.
Yes, we can definitely confirm.
And then, do we have any data on, I guess, the revenues generated for 2023, the totality? I know you mentioned the parking, but were there any other revenues generated by the department?
Are you just talking about the Jazz Fest or you're talking
No,
about
no,
overall?
everything for the year.
I don't have anything collected for the year. I just have some of the revenue that was generated. with
Is that
regards-
something you can get to us through Mr. Harris? Just
Yeah, I'm
so we
sure.
can look at, what came in as a totality on the revenue side.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank
Mhm.
you.
Yep.
Councilman Perone, did you have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Bilden. So my first question is relating to the Jazz Festival. Last year, $20,000 was taken out of the Parade and Events Committee, which I'm the liaison there. And the understanding was it was taken out to be placed for the Jazz Festival, which is going to be our 40th anniversary, and that was the reason why. So I see that on your presentation, you have increased the expenses to $100,000. I'm going back to the same question that I had for Ms. Foster. How many of the people that attended there are actually Willingboro residents? And is there a way to track that?
I believe there's no way that we can track that. And actually, when I had asked for the additional increase in the revenue for the Jazz Festival line last year, it wasn't just because it was the 40th anniversary. In my request, I asked for additional funds because I had said that $50,000 isn't enough to put on the type of jazz festival that we're looking for the community, because the money doesn't go as long, and already knowing what the expenses would be. But it wasn't just based on the fact that it was the 40th anniversary. I knew that it was, so we're adding additional things, but the ask was for it to continue to be more than the $50,000 that we had in that 1 year. But no, I don't believe there's realistically a way that you would be able to tell who's Willingboro residents and who's not coming into the Jazz Festival. There's thousands of people out there.
Right. And I just on my own small surface, I recognize that there are hundreds of people that are not Willingboro residents. So what I would like to begin to do, because they're entering and having at a stopping point, I believe that they should to show their ID that they are Willingboro residents, so we can begin to keep a tally. Because to my understanding, the majority of the people that attend that event are not Willingboro residents. And again, back to where are we getting this money from? The people who live here, the people who pay taxes, you and I, right? So I just want us to, and you're asking for $100,000 now, and I believe next year will be $150,000 that you asked for. So, but this event is not Willingboro, it's surrounding communities, it's open to everyone. So with that said, I would like to see something like that take place, checking points. And again, it could be a safety mechanism as well, because we do have our police out there just to check in. Okay, can we see some ID? Jot it down, Willingboro resident, they can keep going. I'm not asking to take down license plates, but honestly, let's get a real number of how many people that we are spending $100,000 or $90,000 on for this event. Because again, I don't see enough for the community that lives here. On your presentation for the events that you've had, I think 6 of the events were for children, as you stated in your presentation. It goes back to what I'm stating, the working class people who will live here, the parents, the people who are struggling to pay the taxes. What is being given back? And the Jazz Festival is not a give back, because when they arrive, they have to pay for parking. So at least if it's you live here, you get to park for free. You get the VIP pass, something, again, we give back. Now, the next thing is, as it relates to the the Parade and Events Committee, as we all know, I'm the liaison there. Last year, I put on a beautiful, the receiver was a beautiful Veterans Day parade. I tried to reserve the banquet hall for Veterans Day this year. You reserved the banquet hall to a private family. Therefore, the banquet hall was not available to host an additional Veterans Day presentation this year. I then asked about the week before. That was also taken, reserved. Then I asked about, the day earlier in the day. Again, it was reserved for a comedy show at 6 p.m. I believe that's on Veterans Day. And the staff is not going to be available to change out the tables because they don't want to pay them. The parade, I can assure you, the community of Willingboro attended, even in the rain, okay? Even in the rain. People have been asking about it, and I let them know that the communication has failed between the township and the council. There was a budget aligned item for the Veterans Day Parade. I have not seen anything on your presentation that you're putting on for the veterans, not last year nor this year, okay? I didn't see anything on Ms. Foster's presentation for the veterans. She said that if they have an event that they want to do X, Y, and Z, I saw a $3,000 line item. The parade cost at least approximately $16,000 to put on an event and recognize the veterans that live here in the veterans period, as you know, and food was provided. It was free of charge. These are the type of things that were blocked this year. And it is upsetting to me because, again, and this goes to Mr. Harris, because he is the head, you are the head, Mr. Harris, of the Parks and Recreation Department. There should be no reason why the Veterans Day, on Veterans Day, that banquet was booked. Number one, we had an event last year. Number two, Veterans Day falls on the same day every year, November 11th. The day changes, but the date never changes. I cannot understand why that date was not grayed out, and why is it that that banquet was reserved for a private family just to get a couple $1,000s, when what I was trying to do was appreciate the people that sacrificed their lives for us to be here today. This is what I consider a disservice to the community. Okay, and I'm hoping that 2024, that if you don't want the parade and events to put the event on the parade, then put the parade on your presentation. Add it there. Veterans Day Parade underneath that line item. Okay?
Well, with
Because
all
the
due
people
respect,
want,
Council.
the people received it well. Thank you for putting this on, Council. Not Rebecca Perone. Thank you for putting this on. They had their umbrellas out there. As you know, Mr. Harris, you were there. So I'm asking for a collaboration of communication, and let's start to really think about giving back, giving more back, not just to the children. The children have the schools. The schools put on events. There is another population in this community that has been forgotten and not thought of unless it's time to collect taxes. Okay, so with that said, I'm not very pleased with the events that you have presented tonight, Ms. Bolden. I would like, and I'm one council person, so I'm pretty sure the other councils are okay with the tree lighting in the trunk or treat and the giving out candy, and that's all beautiful. But I would like to see more giving back to the community. The last thing I wanted to say, and I forgot about this, was I don't think I saw on there the gym. I know we have a gym at the JFK Center. Did I miss it, or was it on your presentation?
What were you looking for the gym?
The gym membership, what's going on there? The gym, is there anything like, was there any revenue from the gym? Is it free again to the people who live here? That's part of the Park and Recreation, building and facilities. So I didn't see the gym on your presentation.
So all due respect, Councilwoman, this is a budget hearing for appropriations. The revenues are handled in another portion of the budget, which is presented when the township does its official budget presentation. And those revenues are pretty much reflective of the revenues collected this year, which would be on next year's budget. So we're not really here to talk about revenues. If you want the revenue expenses or the revenues received.
Right,
at the-
expenses. I'm
get
sorry, sir.
that information
Expenses.
for you, but my directors were not here to talk about revenues. That's something that's discussed with the CFO and myself.
Well,
What
with
our
regards to
anticipated revenues are.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
I'm done.
With regards to the gym, what is going on with the gym? This is the Park and Recreation. What is going on as far as the expenses there? The employees, membership, is it active? Do we have people coming in? What does that look like? Because every time they turn the lights on, we're paying for that. So what is?
Are you talking about the wellness center? Yes, the wellness center is utilized. And if you're talking about the gymnasium, yes, people rent the gym out, and we run our own programs through the gym as well.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little confused about the question.
Yeah, I was speaking more about the workout room. Is that what you call the wellness center? Is that the wellness center? That's what I
Yes.
was speaking about, the wellness center.
Membership and is utilized, yes.
Okay, so I guess that when you get to revenue, I would like to see what does that look like. But again, the events, I think we can do a better job. I'm one councilwoman, I'm one voice, I'm one vote, but I would like to see more on that Park and Recreation, especially if the Parade and Events Committee is being blocked, because I was blocked this year entirely. Every weekend for 2023 was booked. Even Veterans
Bro,
Day.
can we remain on topic for the budget?
I am on topic. We're on the Parks and Recreation's presentation. So everything was blocked. And the things that I was trying to do for the community has nothing to do with me personally. I do not receive additional funding for it. And it's something to do for the community, where the community can attend, that does not cost them another penny, but just to have a nice time. So I'm asking for 2024, one of the two things. Work with the Parade and Events Committee, because there is a budget for the Parade and Events Committee, but it means nothing if you rent out every single weekend, okay, for the year of 2024. If you do that again, especially on Veterans Day, we know that that's a holiday. It's not like it's confusing on what happens on Veterans Day. I think that's
Are you stating
unfortunate.
that you want to have a Veterans Day parade in 2024? Because that's a function of the committee, not recreation.
Sir, the issue is if you rent out the banquet on the Veterans Day, you have blocked the event from.
I understand, but quite often those reservations are made sometimes years in advance.
That's why we're doing that today. That's why you're hearing it today. I'm hoping that we remember the veterans next
So
year.
that
We
was-
forgot
that
them
was-
this year.
That
We
was the
forgot.
motivation of my question. Are you saying that you want to have a Veterans Day parade in 2024?
That would be really nice. Yes, I think the community has told me, they've asked, and I told them it was blocked. It was not, I couldn't get the
That was
room. So
made in
next year, if we can do that, I would appreciate it, and I'm sure the rest of the community would too.
Saturday, it's already blocked. Okay, so
It's blocked. I can't-
No, it's not. No, Councilwoman Perone. You have to hear the complete statement.
Okay.
Now, no one can assume that something is going to happen year after year. Our job in our department is to make sure that we rent out the banquet hall, which we do. So for 2024, we have rentals all the way through the end of the year. Right now for 2024, the next available Saturday is in August. So I'm just letting you know that people are already booking from 2023 for 2024. But because you did inquire about having the Veterans Day event this year and it was booked, I took the liberty of blocking off that day for you for 2024, for I believe it's the second Saturday. I will confirm the date with Mr. Harris, and he can let you know what that is. There is no intent to block anything with regards to the veterans. The thing is, we cannot assume that anybody is or any group is going to be in place that the date or anything is going to be available. Anytime anybody requests, even from the senior center, Ms. Riva has someone from her office call me already months ago for everything that they're going to have for 2024. So everyone is proactive. But when we're closer to the dates, then those dates are not available because our job is to book the venue. But I can tell you that we did reserve the venue and thinking that this event would happen for 2024 for you.
Well, I definitely appreciate, on behalf of the veterans, I'm not a veteran, my father was a veteran, but on behalf of the veterans, I thank you for blocking 2024 on Veterans Day. And additionally, I really would appreciate if there's more communication and collaboration between the Parade and Events Committee and the Parks and Recreation. And I'm not sure why it was confused that it was not going to take place when there was a parade on Veterans Day last year. So either way, it's spilt milk, it's done. My question now is, what are you doing? What is the township doing this year that's coming up in a week for Veterans Day? Is anything that you're going to do for Veterans Day? That's my question to either you, Ms. Bolden, or Mr. Harris.
From our department, no, I can't say that we have anything scheduled, but what the Parks and what the Parades and Events Committee is set up for is to do additional offerings of events for the community that the Recreation and Department does not do, in addition to what we already offer.
So we're not doing anything there's nothing on the calendar for 2023 for Veterans Day this year from
It
any
is
department.
the parade that you're having.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The parade that you're having, that will be for Veterans Day for the Township of Willingboro.
Oh, that's next year. I'm talking about this year. Veterans Day is coming up in about a week. So I'm
Veterans-
asking what has been planned since it was reserved, Veterans Day was reserved, and every weekend was already reserved. So what I'm asking is what is in place this year, next week, for Veterans Day?
Nothing's in place
Sure.
this year.
Thank you.
Nothing's in
Nothing.
place this year.
Nothing. I want us to do a better job next year. And thank you, Ms. Bolding, for reserving it for next year. And but there are other community events that the committee, there's 2 people that are part of that committee that have volunteered to be a part of the Parade and Events Committee. And they too have not been able to get collaborative communication with the township. You're looking for money to reserve, and I get what you're saying. They come first, but you know what? There is a budget that's allotted to Parade and Events, and that budget is to give back. We have to do a better job. And I said this last year at communicating. I asked for an SOP so we can work together collaboratively. So you know what? I'm pretty sure the Jazz Festival, you probably already have the date in mind. There's never going to be an issue where all of the weekends are reserved, so you can't have the Jazz Festival now, is there? And we don't have to answer that question because it's rhetorical. But the thing is, the Parade and Events Committee is literally a committee of people that live in this community that are trying to put something on, an event for the people that live here. So please incorporate that committee when you're planning to reserve things or whatever, but it definitely a national holiday as Veterans Day, that should have never been forgotten. And it has been forgotten this year, and I find that to be a sad situation. But we can learn from it and move on from that, because I am moving on from that. But I appreciate you reserving 2024 Veterans Day, and that concludes my statements and comments.
Does any other council member have comments? Okay, Dr. Worthy?
Just have one.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Bolden, for the work
that,
Recreation and Parks does throughout the year to support the community. I was curious if council could be provided salaries and wages. I didn't see it in this budget presentation. but I
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Can you, I cannot really hear Ms. Worthy, Councilman Worthy.
Okay, we got you. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start again. I was just saying, thank you, Ms. Bolden, for the work that Parks and Recreation does to support the community. I noticed that salaries and wages were not included in this presentation, and the other departments included there. So I was wondering if that information could be made available to the council.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Ms. Bolden, for your presentation this evening. I do want to first state that I appreciate the work that your office has done to increase the amount of programming for residents that are not children or seniors. The Friday Night Live events were a phenomenal addition to the docket this year. It was a free event to all members of the community, largely attended by adults in this community and not children. And I appreciate you taking that note from last year's budget discussions and incorporating that into programming for this year and continuing that for next year. So thank you for that. I did have a question about the program supplies line item. There is notes for wrestling, the community garden, baseball, boxing, pickleball, spin classes, things of that sort. But the line item is about $3,000. And I don't know what is on, what needs to be repaired or what items that you may need. But for all of those activities, it just seems a bit low for that. So just keeping that into consideration.
Understood.
And that was, I think that was the only thing that I have. Yes, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
I agree with the deputy mayor, and I was wondering if we were seeking grants or anything for, especially the community gardens and the aquaponics. I think those are great additions to our catalog. And also, I was looking at the building and grounds, and I was wondering if that line item was adequately funded. And I'm wondering about the partnership with DPW in terms of that, and how we can kind of streamline that.
So a lot of the items that previous years have been included in buildings and grounds for recreation have been transferred over to DPW. These were very specific related functions with the baseball fields, the football fields, playground equipment, pool supplies, and things like that, which buildings and grounds did not incorporate at that time. But as we continue to establish that department, then some of these additional functions will be transferred over. We're just a little manpower issue there. So.
So with that, it is the building and grounds. I know we have a couple of baseball fields that are utilized, football fields. Is this enough money to accommodate for any use of those properties?
I believe so, because we're looking at trying to do some additional things with the baseball field in regards to their maintenance and everything like that. So if we're able to kind of get what we are looking to get done with that, that will take a huge piece off of this particular line item. So again, as Mr. Harris was saying, this kind of just allows us that if there's something that we still need to get done that DPW cannot cover, then it doesn't tie our hands that we still can't move forward with what we need to get done.
Okay,
Okay.
I appreciate that.
And the only other thing I would like to add, I know with Ms. Jackson and, talking about the events that she has, and I would just like to say that she did a phenomenal job with coordinating those events, regardless of, kind of where the money stays. It allows us, we're kind of like an office of six, and we don't just do events. We do programs, we do project management when we're talking about, playgrounds being put together, we're handling tennis, we're handling, the pools and all of those different things. So, having Ms. Jackson at the helm for some of those events is very helpful. Every committee that, all of those events, on the committee along with her to be able to kind of like assist, but not necessarily spearheading, because there is a level of, I guess kind of like that we achieve with those particular events, and not that we want them to fall by the wayside, but we are kind of managing a lot within the department and also trying to add additional things to the things that we already do. So just kind of having that, I know she already has her focus as being, communications and getting everything out for the community. But I'm always there to assist, and we're on the committees together. So, we're kind of like walking in lockstep regardless of where the money is. But I believe her being at the helm of those particular events is definitely helpful and beneficial for my department as well. So I just kind of wanted to add that as you make your decision on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to open up for public comment for the budget presentation for recreation, parks and recreation. Is there anyone online?
Not at this moment, Mayor.
Thank you. Public comment is now closed. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll move on to, you can close up. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
those are all of our presentations for this evening. On the 8th, we will be before you again with police and DPW. Those are pretty two substantial departments. And then we will wrap up the rest of our departments on our special meeting on the 9th.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any board comment? Any council
me?
comment?
I'd just like to thank all the directors for your presentations. Thank you for allowing us to ask the hard questions. Don't take it personal.
Right.
It's just part of the everyday so that we can get a visual of what's happening, so that it coordinates what, our vision is with the managers. This way, we're all on the same page. So once again, I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for your hard work.
Thank you. Anyone else? We're good. Okay.
I would say, I just want to echo, Councilman Anderson. Again, these are hard questions and this is the time to do it. So don't take it personal. I do appreciate all of our staff and everybody that's involved in putting these events together. And hopefully, some of what you've heard this evening, that if you can't do it this year, maybe you can incorporate it for next year. Maybe it's not too late. However, just want to say thank you for your presentations and the time that you put into putting everything together.
Thank you. And I do echo those sentiments also. And also, I do think there's an opportunity, as I was listening to all the presentations, there's an opportunity to streamline some of the events. The intention is, for everybody to be accommodated, everybody to have recreational or events, and also some multi-generational interactions also. So I would like going forward. I mean, this is just me personally, would like to go forward to see if some of them we can streamline, because there are a lot of events, and perhaps, I do think the ones that were partnered on were done very well, and they, brought a different flavor to Willingboro. And I think there was, even the dinner en bloc, people complained about it initially, but I did attend, and it was something that Willingboro needed. And it was something that people enjoyed with the ticket sale, with bringing the food, with all of that. It was an event. It was a part of the experience and people really enjoyed it. And, people who didn't, they didn't go. So I do think there are opportunities to explore different things. So, but I would like to see some of that streamlined and be more efficient with our spending on these. And that, again, that's just my, my opinion. But I appreciate everyone for putting in the time and the effort to present to council and the community. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
I need a motion for adjournment, please.
So
So
move.
moved.
Moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Dr. Worthy. Roll call. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you very much.
It is 8:13. We are adjourned.
Good night, Willingboro.